There are two main types of approaches to Venn diagram questions. One is the typical Venn diagram, which you're probably accustomed to from school, and the other is a grid, which is usually a little less common for most people. What we find is that the grid tends to work better in most situations, but it's important to use both and be able to use both depending on the setup of the question. So let's look at this question here. And if you want to pause and attempt it, you can go for it now. But we're going to start off by using the Venn diagram, and then we're going to move to the grid. So at a certain high school, 50% of students play a sport and 60% take a foreign language class. So we'll call this side sports and we'll call this side foreign language. And the total of sports is going to equal 50%, and the total of foreign language is 60%. And this blue box out here represents people who do neither. And this middle part inside represents people who do both. This portion outside of the interior out here represents people who do just sports. And on the flip side over here, this portion is people who just study a foreign language. Okay, so this is our breakdown. And if we add this, and this together, it has to add up to 100%. Because you either do sports and not foreign language, you do both, you do foreign language but not sports, or you do neither. There's no alternative to those four situations. So looking at the rest of the information, 20% play a sport but do not take a foreign language. So this portion out here is 20%. Well, that means that since the total of sports is 50, this interior must be 30%. And if that's 30% and we know that the foreign language is 60%, then this must be 30% as well. And since we said this, and this add up to 100, if we add these three components up together, we get a total of 80%, which means this portion here must be 20%. And that is the answer to how many do not play a sport and do not take a foreign language class. Okay, now let's solve it using the grid. So in a grid, we have the same idea, but what we do is we say sports yes, sports no, foreign language yes, foreign language no. And what this does is it creates overlap. This box here is the overlap of sports yes, foreign language yes. So if you do both, you go in that box. This is foreign language yes, sports no. And this over here is the total of foreign language. Foreign language with sports and without sports adds up to this. The bottom down here is going to be the total, which will be 100% in percent questions. And that should be the sum of the vertical and the horizontal addition. And so we can work our way through this problem using this grid, and I'll show you how. So 50% of students play a sport. Well, that means sports yes is 50% down here, which would make this 50% for sports no. And then if we look at the 60% of students take a foreign language class, foreign language yes total is 60%, which means foreign language no is 40%. And they have to add up to 100, which is how we get those numbers. Now, if 20% of students play a sport but do not take a foreign language, so sports yes, foreign language no is 20%, that would leave 30% here. And then going across this way, we have to add to 60, which is 30% here. And down this way, we have to add to 50, which is 20% here. And that gets us no is 20% as well. So two distinct ways of solving it, both are valuable. The grid's going to come in handy more often than not. Always make sure you put your yes, no's next to each other. These are known as mutually exclusive events. There can't be an overlap between sports yes and sports no. You can't fall into both, so they should never overlap. Thus, they must be next to each other.